Please don't let her tell you I ran away, the maid whispered, her lips blue, her white apron frozen stiff against her knees. In her right hand, Clara May Ellison still held the brass service key, its teeth pressed so hard into her palm that blood had dried around the metal. A torn envelope was tucked beneath the apron seam. Adrian Volkov looked at the locked servant's door, then at the untouched snow behind her. One detail made him stop breathing. 3 hours earlier, Clara had been polishing the silver trays in the east pantry with both hands wrapped in thin cotton gloves, and as silence, she had learned the way some people learn prayer. The Volkov mansion did not welcome sound from people like her. It welcomed footsteps from men in Italian leather shoes, low voices behind walnut doors, crystal glasses set down softly after conversations that could ruin lives. It welcomed Evelyn Cross, the head housekeeper, who moved through the corridors with a ring of keys at her waist and a smile that always looked like it had been measured before a mirror. Clara was supposed to move like furniture. Useful, clean, replaceable, invisible until something went wrong. She had been at the mansion for 11 months, long enough to know which security cameras blinked before resetting, which hallway carried voices through the vents, and which staff members lowered their eyes when Evelyn entered. She needed this job. Her brother's inhaler receipt sat folded in her locker beside a photo of their mother outside a rented apartment in Newark, smiling like rent had not been late that month. Clara did not have the luxury of pride, but she had something close to it. She did not steal. She did not lie. And she did not look away when she saw a name where it should not have been. At 9:17, while wiping fingerprints from the sideboard, she noticed the payroll folder left open beneath the pantry lamp. 3 names were marked active. Lily Ramos, June Walker, Patrice Bell. Clara knew those names because she had been told never to mention them. Girls who had moved on. Girls whose lockers had been emptied before sunrise. On top of the folder lay a small old phone, cracked across the screen, wrapped in a gray cleaning rag. Clara recognized the sticker on the back. A tiny blue moon Lily had once used to mark her lunch container. Her hand closed around the phone before she could talk herself out of it. Then the pantry door clicked. Evelyn stood there in her navy robe, calm as church glass. "Clara," she said softly, eyes dropping to the rag in Clara's hand. "I have always tried to be kind to you. But some girls mistake kindness for permission." Clara did not answer. She slipped the phone beneath her apron seam with one shaking hand. Evelyn's smile thinned. "Mr. Volkov dislikes disorder. And I would hate for him to learn that the girl he allowed into his house repaid him by touching things above her station." The words were polite. The blade was not. Clara backed toward the service hall, keeping her body between Evelyn and the phone. She saw the master panel glowing red near the door. She saw Evelyn's thumb hover over the lock command. And she understood something cold before the winter air ever touched her skin. This was not punishment. This was removal. When the service door opened, Clara stepped outside because Evelyn's hand was already on her wrist, and 2 security men were watching without seeing. The door shut behind her with a soft, expensive click. No shouting. No struggle anyone would admit to. Just Clara, the snow, the brass key in her palm, and the old phone sewn into her apron like a heartbeat no one was supposed to hear. At midnight, Adrian Volkov found her still standing by that door, and the brass key in her hand was not the mansion's key at all. Adrian did not look at Evelyn first. He looked at Clara's hand. The brass key lay across her palm like something dead, its edges dark with blood, its bow stamped with a number he did not recognize. 12B. The Volkov house keys were marked with letters, not numbers. That was the first wrong thing. The second was Clara's apron. Even frozen stiff, even torn along the seam where she had hidden whatever Evelyn had wanted erased, it still smelled faintly of lemon polish and hot metal from the silver room. Not street air. Not escape. Work. Evelyn arrived wearing a camel-colored cashmere coat over her nightgown. Her gray hair pinned perfectly, as if midnight emergencies were something she had dressed for all her life. Behind her came 2 guards, 3 maids, the night cook, and Paul from security with his tablet pressed to his chest. The house gathered in the kitchen doorway, warm lights spilling around their slippers and polished shoes, while Clara stood half inside Adrian's coat, shaking so hard the brass key clicked against her wedding ring finger, though she had never been married. "Mr. Volkov," Evelyn said, breathless in exactly the right amount. "Thank God you found her. We've been so worried." Nobody said anything after that. The silence did not feel empty. It felt arranged. Clara lowered her eyes, but not in surrender. She was staring at the wet tile beneath Evelyn's boots. No snowmelt. Evelyn had not been outside looking for anyone. Adrian noticed it too. His gaze moved once, down and back up, slow enough that Evelyn's smile tightened. She clocked out at 9:18. Paul said carefully, turning the tablet toward Adrian. System shows she left the staff corridor voluntarily. Clara's lips parted. Her voice came out thin, but steady enough to cut. I was still in the silver room at 10:40. Evelyn made a soft sound, almost a sigh. Sweetheart, hypothermia can confuse the mind. No one is blaming you for being frightened. It was said kindly. That made it worse. A young dishwasher by the sink stared at his own hands. The industrial machine behind him kept humming. Washing plates from a dinner Clara had helped serve, steam breathing against the stainless steel like the house itself was pretending nothing had happened. Adrian stepped past Clara and took Paul's tablet without asking. He did not raise his voice. Show me 10:40. Paul swallowed. His thumb moved too quickly. That footage is missing, sir. Camera reset. Storm interference, probably. Inside camera, Adrian said. 2 words. Paul's face lost color around the mouth. Clara shifted under the coat. The storm didn't touch the east pantry camera. Everyone turned to her then. Not with concern. With warning. She kept both hands around the apron, protecting the torn seam. It sits above the dry goods shelf. Evelyn had. It moved after Lily dropped a tray last spring. It points at the silver cabinet now, not the door. Evelyn smiled, and for the first time it showed teeth. Clara has always had an impressive memory for things that are not her responsibility. Adrian looked at Clara. Not trust. Not yet. Something colder than trust. Attention. What else? Clara swallowed. My locker receipt. I bought coffee at 10:13 from the machine in the laundry hall. 2 cups. One for me. One for Mrs. Cross because she said we would be working late. Evelyn's gloved fingers stopped moving. Adrian turned to Paul. Receipts. Paul tapped, hesitated, then turned the tablet slightly away. Adrian took a picture of the screen with his own phone before anyone could blink. One coffee receipt showed Clara's employee number at 10:13. The second cup was charged to Evelyn's master account at 10:14. Evelyn's voice softened. I often buy coffee for staff. It's called decency. Clara looked up then, her face pale beneath the bruise of cold. You don't drink coffee after 6. You said it keeps your hands from being steady with the medicine cabinet. The kitchen went very still. Somewhere under Clara's apron, the old phone gave one weak notification buzz, and on Paul's tablet, the clock-out record changed from 9:18 to 11:52 while Adrian was still watching. The tablet did not glitch like a machine. It corrected itself like a liar realizing the wrong person was watching. 9:18 became 11:52 in the blue-white glow of Paul's screen, and for one suspended second nobody in the kitchen breathed loudly enough to be accused of it. Adrian's phone was already lowered at his side, the photo taken before the record changed. He did not show it. He did not smile. He simply looked at Paul until the man found something fascinating on the tile. Evelyn recovered first, because women like Evelyn Cross had survived for years by making panic look like concern. That system has been unstable all week, she said gently. I told maintenance. Poor Clara must have been terrified, wandering out there, convincing herself of terrible things. Clara was seated now on a wooden chair near the prep table, wrapped in Adrian's black overcoat while the night cook pressed a warm towel into her hands. Her fingers had begun to hurt as they thawed, a deep, biting pain that crawled up the bones. She did not let go of the apron. The torn seam rested against her lap like a wound that had learned to keep quiet. Under it, the old phone sat silent again, but the single buzz had changed the air. Adrian noticed the way Evelyn's eyes had gone to Clara's stomach, not her face. Not the cold burns. Not the bleeding palm. The apron. Stand, Adrian said. Clara tried. Her knees trembled. The chair scraped half an inch before the dishwasher moved as if to help her, then stopped when Evelyn turned her head. Adrian saw that too. He moved instead, not touching Clara, only placing his hand on the back of the chair until she had enough balance to rise. The apron, he said. Evelyn's voice came in soft and quick. Mr. Volkov, may I suggest we give the girl privacy? She has already been through a great deal. An embarrassment can make employees defensive. Clara looked at Evelyn then. Her lips were cracked. Her lashes still held melted snow. "You cut it," she said. It was not loud. That made everyone hear it. Evelyn tilted her head with the careful pity of someone addressing a child who had spilled soup. "Clara, sweetheart, you were found outside half frozen with a stolen house key. This may not be the best moment to invent another accusation." Adrian's gaze lowered to the apron. "Show me." Clara's hand shook as she lifted the hem. Along the inside seam, the white cotton had been sliced open and stitched shut again with dark blue thread. Not black, not navy, blue, thin and cheap, the kind from the emergency sewing tin in the laundry room. Clara swallowed and pointed with one stiff finger. "I use white thread. Always. Mrs. Cross says colored thread looks careless on staff linens." A small sound moved through the room. Not a gasp, not yet. More like the house, taking one step backward. Adrian reached toward the seam, then stopped before touching it. "Who stitched this?" Clara looked at the floor. "I did. After she searched me." Evelyn's smile twitched. "Searched you?" "Clara, you handed me your apron because you said you felt ill." "I was trying to help." "No," Clara said, and this time her voice had a wire inside it. "You said if I gave you what Lily left behind, I could keep my job." The name Lily did what the cold could not. It made the room break. The night cook crossed herself. Paul's thumb slipped against the tablet. One of the younger maids looked toward the back stairs like she wanted to run. Adrian did not ask who Lily was. He had heard the name before, in tax summaries, in staff turnover reports, in Evelyn's smooth monthly notes. Resigned without notice. Unreliable. Emotionally unfit for residential work. His eyes moved from Clara's apron to Evelyn's gloves. "Take them off." Evelyn blinked. "Excuse me. Your gloves." The words were quiet enough to make the refrigerator hum seem loud. Evelyn hesitated only a fraction too long. Then she peeled off the leather with slow dignity, as if obedience were something she was choosing to grant. Her hands were pale, elegant, steady. But there, caught beneath the nail of her right thumb, was a crescent of dark blue thread. Clara saw it before anyone else did. She did not point. She only whispered, "That's from the laundry tin." Evelyn's face hardened and softened in the same breath. "Many of us mend things, dear." Adrian finally looked at Clara differently. Not kindly. More dangerous than that. As if he had stopped seeing a frightened maid and started seeing the only person in the room who had been counting correctly. "The phone," he said. Clara's fingers went to the seam, but she did not open it. "Not here." Evelyn laughed once, almost soundless. "She is manipulating you with theater now." Clara did not look away from Adrian. "Lily recorded something. I don't know what." But the notification sound came from her old number. Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Lily's phone has service?" Clara nodded toward the tablet in Paul's hands. "No, that's the wrong part. Lily's phone has been dead for 8 months." Paul's tablet lit again before he could hide it, and this time the message preview was visible to everyone close enough to read. "Device restored from backup at 11:49 p.m. The message stayed on Paul's tablet long enough for the room to understand it, then vanished under his thumb. "Device restored from backup at 11:49 p.m. Paul moved too late. Adrian had already seen the hour. Clara had already seen the way Evelyn's shoulders dropped half an inch, not in defeat, but in calculation. "Dining room," Adrian said. Nobody asked why. In the Volkov house, certain words did not need furniture around them to become orders. 5 minutes later, Clara stood at the edge of the private dining room, where 12 empty chairs surrounded a table long enough to make a person feel poor just by standing near it. The chandelier above them held 60 crystal drops. Each one threw a clean little blade of light across the polished wood. Her wet socks had been replaced with borrowed slippers 2 sizes too large. Adrian's coat was still around her shoulders. Her torn apron was folded over her forearm, and beneath its damaged seam, Lily's old phone pressed against the cotton like a secret with a pulse. Evelyn stood near the head of the table beside Paul, Marcus Vale, and a woman from legal named Denise Harrow, who had arrived in a cream wool suit with her hair still perfect from whatever warm bed had been interrupted. Denise did not look cruel. That was the problem. She looked reasonable. She placed a single sheet of paper on the table and turned it toward Clara with 2 fingers. "This is not an accusation," Denise said, her voice soft enough to sound expensive. "It is simply a statement that you left the premises voluntarily, became disoriented due to weather, and were recovered safely by Mr. Volkov." Signing it protects everyone, including you. Clara looked at the paper. Her name was already typed at the bottom. Clara May Ellison, household staff. Not maid. Not witness. Not person. Staff. Evelyn gave her a kind smile from across the table. You've had a frightening night, dear. No one wants to make it worse by involving police or immigration questions or hospital billing. You know how these systems can be for girls without family resources. The humiliation was so neat it almost disappeared inside the manners. Clara felt every eye in the room move from her face to her slippers, to the coat that was not hers, to the cheap name tag pinned crookedly to the blouse beneath it. She reached up and straightened the name tag with 2 stiff fingers. Then she set the apron on the table, carefully, like evidence. I won't sign a lie. Denise's expression did not change, but her pen stopped moving. Marcus gave a small tired sigh, the kind powerful men used when they wanted decency to look childish. Mr. Volkov, with respect, this is becoming theater. The girl is cold, scared, and clearly attached to some story about a former employee. Evelyn has served this house for 18 years. Adrian stood by the window, not at the head of the table. He had chosen the shadows beside the glass, where the snow outside reflected pale against his black suit. Ask her the pantry route, he said. Marcus blinked. What? Adrian looked at Clara. East Pantry. From the silver room. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. Clara understood the test before anyone else did. He was not asking because he believed her. He was asking because everyone else had been speaking as if she were too small to know the house she kept alive. Clara placed her palm on the table so it would stop shaking. Through the green baize door, past the linen press, left at the radiator that knocks when the heat turns on. 3 steps before the pantry threshold, there's a loose brass nail in the floor trim. Mrs. Cross told me never to report it because guests don't use that hall. Evelyn smiled. Most staff could recite a hallway. Adrian's gaze did not move. The lamp. Clara swallowed. It was on the flower bin, not the sideboard. Paul frowned. The pantry lamp is always on the sideboard. Not tonight, Clara said. Someone moved it to see the cabinet lock without turning on the overhead light. The room changed by less than an inch, but Adrian felt it. Evelyn's mouth opened, then closed. Denise looked down at the statement, suddenly less eager to slide it forward. Marcus reached into his jacket for his phone, casual, smooth, almost invisible. Adrian's voice stopped him. Leave it. Marcus froze. Clara looked at the paper again. Then she noticed the second wrong thing. The statement said she had exited through door 3C, but the bloody brass key still lying near her. Apron was stamped 12B, and Evelyn had just called it the servant's door without being shown the number. The number on the key did not belong in the room, and neither did the silence that followed it. Clara looked at Evelyn, waiting for the older woman to correct herself, to smile, to glide over the mistake with the same polished mercy she used to make cruelty sound like etiquette. But Evelyn only lowered her eyes to the brass key, and for the first time that night, she seemed to be measuring distance. Not from the table, from the door. Adrian saw it. He said nothing. The chandelier hummed above them. Somewhere far below, the boiler knocked through the walls like a slow fist. Clara drew the apron closer to her body. The seam was stiff where the ice had melted into the cotton, and her fingers barely obeyed her as she found the hidden stitch. I need scissors, she said. Denise looked relieved to have something ordinary to object to. I don't think we should allow household staff to destroy potential property without inventory documentation. Clara's face did not change. She reached for the small gold pin on her name tag instead. The room watched a maid use the only thing with her name on it to open the place where they had tried to erase her. The pin snapped once through the blue thread. Then again. The sound was tiny, almost embarrassing against all that marble and crystal, but no one moved. Evelyn folded her hands. Mr. Volkov, this has gone far enough. She was found with an unauthorized device hidden in her clothing. I understand pity. I do. But pity is not evidence. Clara pulled the old phone free. It was smaller than Adrian expected, cracked across the face, the pink case yellowed with age. A Blue Moon sticker peeled at one corner. Someone had wrapped a rubber band around it to keep the back from falling off. It did not look dangerous. It looked poor. That made the room relax, just a little. Marcus even gave a quiet exhale, as if a broken phone had saved them from drama. Clara held it with both hands. Lily gave this to me the night before she disappeared from payroll, she said. She said if Mrs. Cross ever changed my schedule without signing the log, I should turn it on. Evelyn's smile returned, careful and wounded. Lily Ramos was a troubled girl. I protected her more times than I care to admit. She confused kindness with conspiracy, just as Clara is doing now. Adrian's eyes stayed on the phone. Turn it on. Clara pressed the power button. Nothing. A dead black screen. Evelyn did not laugh. That would have been too obvious. She only tilted her head with sorrow practiced to perfection. Cold destroys cheap batteries. Clara's thumb moved to the side button. Not if you keep it under your body heat. The screen flickered once, then opened to a lock screen photo of two women in winter coats outside a pharmacy, Lily and Clara, cheeks flushed from laughing at something the camera had not caught. Clara's throat tightened, but she did not let the tears rise. She entered 4 numbers. The phone unlocked. There was one saved contact. Mama. No apps, no photos except 3, no music, no games. Only a voice recorder icon with a red dot beside one file and a banking alert frozen at the top. Deposit received, winter relief account. Adrian's gaze sharpened. Marcus looked away too fast. Clara tapped the recorder before anyone could stop her. Lily's voice filled the dining room, thin and trembling under the hiss of a cheap microphone. If this is found, I didn't quit. I didn't steal. Mrs. Cross said girls like me don't get believed in houses like this. She said Mr. Volkov signs what Marcus puts in front of him. The recording crackled. A second voice came through in the background, muffled but unmistakably calm. Then make sure she understands the door only opens one way. Clara froze. She had heard Evelyn threaten people. She had heard Paul lie. She had never heard Marcus speak like that, soft as a priest beside a grave. Evelyn moved first. That could be anyone. But she had said it too quickly. Adrian looked at Marcus, and the silence that settled over the table was no longer doubt. It was recognition arriving late, carrying a knife. Adrian did not move for several seconds after Lily's recording ended. That was what frightened the room most. Not rage. Not threats. Not the kind of violence men whispered about when they said his name too quietly in restaurants. Just stillness. His hand rested on the back of a dining chair, one finger touching the carved wood, and his eyes stayed on Marcus as if he were studying a signature he should have questioned years ago. The snow tapped softly against the tall windows. In the kitchen below, the dishwasher started again, plates knocking against one another in hot water, ordinary sounds from a house that had almost frozen a woman to death and then expected her to apologize for the inconvenience. Again, Adrian said. Clara played the recording a second time. This time, nobody looked at Evelyn. They looked at Marcus. Marcus gave a small, controlled laugh. A muffled voice on a dead girl's phone is not a case, Adrian. I didn't say it was. Adrian took out his own phone. Denise. Payroll. Last 24 months. Household only. Every termination note. Every bank change. Every staff charity request. Denise hesitated. Her loyalty had been trained by salary, but not yet purchased by fear. She opened her laptop. Clara stood beside the table, the old phone in her palm, her apron over her arm, her name tag still slightly crooked from where she had used the pin to cut the thread. Adrian looked at the chair beside him. Sit. Clara shook her head once. Not defiance. Dignity. Not until Lily's name is right. Evelyn's mouth tightened. Clara. Dear, Lily abandoned her position. I know grief makes people rewrite the past, but there are records. Then show the records. Clara's voice was almost gone, but it held. Show where she signed. The silence after that had edges. Denise typed. The printer in the corner woke with a dry mechanical cough, spitting out pages onto a silver tray that had once carried wine glasses for men who never learned the names of the women serving them. Adrian did not touch the pages first. He let them stack. Then he lifted one. Lily Ramos. Voluntary resignation. Signature attached. Same day as final payroll update. Same day as winter relief disbursement. Clara leaned close enough to see the signature and went completely still. That's not hers. Evelyn sighed with careful sadness. You cannot possibly know that. Clara reached into the pocket of the coat Adrian had given her and pulled out a folded hospital bill, soft from being carried too long. She wrote my brother's address on this so the clinic would send his asthma paperwork to the right place. Lily made her LS loop twice. Always. She said one loop looked lonely. It was a foolish detail. Small. Human. the kind no one important would have preserved. Adrian took the bill. He compared the handwriting. The resignation had one sharp L. The hospital bill had two soft loops, like a ribbon refusing to close. His expression did not change, but the room became colder around him. Denise kept typing. More names appeared. June Walker, Patrice Bell, Rosa Mendez. Each one marked resigned. Each one followed by a bank change within 48 hours. Each one connected to a disbursement from the same winter relief account. This account is mine, Adrian said quietly. Marcus adjusted his cuffs. A charitable pass-through. You approved it every December. I approved blankets. Adrian looked at the bank receipts. Not ghosts. Clara lifted her eyes. I don't want money, Mr. Volkov. Everyone turned to her, because that was the one sentence rich people never trusted from someone poor. Her fingers closed around Lily's phone. I want my name taken off that lie. I want Lily's mother to know she didn't run. And I want nobody in this house to ever use a hospital bill to put a leash around someone's throat again. Adrian looked down at the papers, at the forged signatures, at the relief account, at Marcus standing 3 chairs away with the calm of a man who had been standing there for years. Then he remembered every monthly staffing report Evelyn had placed before him. Every memo Marcus had summarized before Adrian could read the names himself. Every quiet resignation he had accepted because the house kept running and powerful men mistake order for truth. For the first time that night, Adrian Volkov understood that Clara had not been the one outside the door. He had been. Adrian did not say he believed Clara. That would have warned the wrong people. Instead, he folded Lily's hospital bill once along the crease she had already worn into it, placed it beside the forged resignation, and said the coldest lie in the room. Evelyn has served this house for 18 years. Evelyn's face softened with relief, so delicate most people would have mistaken it for gratitude. Marcus did not. Marcus watched Adrian's hands. Powerful men understood hands better than speeches. Adrian's were calm. Too calm. We settle this properly, Adrian continued. No police. No staff panic. No accusations built on a broken phone. Clara felt the sentence hit her before she understood it. For one breath, the dining room turned enormous again. Crystal, mahogany, silver, all of it rising above her like the house had remembered what she was. Evelyn stepped closer with that careful motherly expression that made Clara feel 12 years old and guilty for bleeding on clean floors. That is wise, Mr. Volkov. Compassion must be balanced with responsibility. Clara looked down at Lily's phone, then at the old brass key, stamped 12B. Her fingers closed around both. She did not plead. She did not accuse. She only said, ask her to open the pantry ledger. Adrian's eyes moved to her, barely. It was enough. Why? Clara swallowed. The room waited to hear a maid over-explain herself and become small. She did not give them that, because Evelyn never touches the pantry ledger with her left hand. Evelyn gave a soft laugh. I beg your pardon. Clara kept her eyes on Adrian. She broke her left wrist years ago. She turns pages right to left with her ring finger so the hinge doesn't ache. But whoever changed the shift log tonight smudged ink on the left margin. Marcus smiled now, thin and patient. Ink smudges are not evidence, Clara. No, Adrian said. They are habits. He turned to Evelyn. Open it. The pantry ledger sat on the sideboard beneath a porcelain lamp, leather-bound and harmless-looking, the kind of book used to track napkins, flour, silver polish, things no one rich ever thought about until they were missing. Evelyn crossed the room with dignity. Her right hand hovered over the cover. Then, with everyone watching, she used her left hand to steady the page. Only for a second. Only enough for pain to flash across her face before she buried it. Clara saw it. Adrian saw Clara see it. The red camera light in the corner blinked once. Marcus noticed it after. His phone vibrated inside his jacket, one short buzz, then another. His hand drifted toward it. Adrian did not look at him. Leave it. The phone kept vibrating. No one breathed. Evelyn turned the page. The fresh entry for Clara's shift sat in darker ink than the others. Too clean, too careful. Clocked out 9:18 p.m., door 3C. Personal distress. Marcus leaned forward. There. The log confirms the system. Clara moved before fear could stop her. She took the coffee receipt from beneath Denise's folder and slid it beside the entry. 10:13 p.m. laundry haul. Employee purchase. Then she placed Lily's hospital bill beside it. her finger on the double-looped L. Same pen, she said. Denise frowned despite herself. What? Clara touched the 9 in 918. The ink skips on the downstroke. It did the same on Lily's fake signature. Evelyn's politeness thinned. That is a very ambitious conclusion for someone who scrubs trays. The words landed exactly where she meant them to, on Clara's station, her wage, her borrowed slippers, the coat that was not hers. Clara's cheeks warmed, but she did not move her hand from the receipt. Adrian walked to the sideboard and lifted the ledger, not the page. Beneath it lay something no one had meant to leave there. A narrow white strip from a keycard printer, curled like a shaving. Marcus's name was not on it. Evelyn's was not either. The strip read Temporary Access Created, 12B. Authorized by M. Vale. Marcus stopped smiling. Adrian picked up the strip between two fingers and turned it toward the blinking camera. Clara, he said, still not looking away from Marcus. Stand beside me. Evelyn's eyes snapped to her then, sharp with the first honest emotion she had shown all night, because she understood before the others did that the maid was no longer being questioned from across the table. She was standing on the same side of the evidence. Clara did not step beside Adrian quickly. She moved like someone who had spent a lifetime being punished for taking up space, one careful inch at a time, her borrowed slippers silent against the polished floor. The keycard strip lay in Adrian's hand. Lily's phone lay on the table. The receipt, the forged log, the hospital bill, the apron with the blue thread, all of it sat beneath the chandelier, as if the house had finally been forced to display its own shame. Marcus looked toward the door. Evelyn looked toward Marcus. That was when Clara understood the last piece. Not here, she said. Adrian turned his head slightly. Clara's voice stayed low. The door. Make them explain it at the door. No one spoke for a moment. Then Adrian picked up the evidence one piece at a time and walked out. The entire house followed him through the green baize door, down the narrow staff corridor, past the laundry room where the coffee machines still glowed in the dark, and to the service entrance where Clara's body had nearly become another thing the snow covered. The floor there had been mopped. Too clean. The brass threshold shone wet under the overhead bulb. Outside, winter pressed its pale face against the glass. Adrian placed the keycard strip against the doorframe. Open it, he said to Evelyn. Evelyn's gloved hand hovered over the lock panel. Mr. Volkov, this is unnecessary. Open it. She pressed her MasterCard. The panel flashed red. Denied. A sound moved through the gathered staff, small and frightened. Evelyn tried again. Denied. Marcus said, the system may have been locked down after the storm. Adrian looked at Denise. Denise lifted her laptop with hands that were no longer steady. Raw security is loaded. Adrian nodded once. The wall monitor above the time clock came alive. Grainy black and white footage filled the screen. 11:36 p.m. Clara in the corridor, apron torn, one hand over her ribs, Lily's phone hidden against her body. Evelyn behind her, not helping, guiding. Paul by the panel. Marcus entering the frame from the office hall in his overcoat. The staff watched themselves watching. Not one person in the footage moved to stop it. On screen, Clara turned once, mouth forming words the camera could not hear. Adrian's jaw tightened when the audio clicked in from the recorder Clara had protected under the apron. Her voice came through, shaking but clear. Please don't make me lie. Then Marcus's voice, no longer muffled, no longer deniable. Girls with overdue hospital bills don't get to decide what truth costs. Adrian went pale. It was not fear. It was the sickness of a man realizing his name had been used like a lock on someone else's throat. The footage continued. Evelyn took the brass key from Clara's pocket, pressed another into her palm, and smiled. This one will look better in the report. Then the door opened. Clara was pushed out without a shove anyone could call violence. Just pressure. Just authority. Just a woman made small enough to disappear into weather. The door shut. The panel blinked. Temporary access created, 12B. Authorized by M. Vale. The monitor froze on Clara outside, standing in the snow with her hand against the glass. No one looked at her now as a confused maid. They looked at her as the only reason the truth had survived until morning. Clara reached into Adrian's coat pocket and took out Lily's old phone. Her thumb found the final file. There's one more, she said. Evelyn whispered, Clara, don't. And that was the first honest word she had spoken all night. Clara played it. Lily's voice filled the staff corridor, soft with fever, stronger than death. If Clara finds this, believe her. She notices the things people like us are paid to pretend not to see. Adrian lowered his eyes. For once, the most dangerous man in the house could not speak. Then he set the brass key, the phone, and the forged log on the mopped floor where Clara had nearly died, and looked at Marcus. Call my attorney. Call my attorney, Adrian said, and the words did not echo. They settled. By sunrise, the service corridor was no longer a hallway. It was a record. Denise photographed the mopped floor, the panel log, the brass key, the forged shift entry, the apron seam, Lily's phone, and the place where Clara's hand had pressed against the glass from the wrong side of the door. Marcus was escorted out without a coat. Not dragged. Not shouted at. Simply removed by two men who had once opened doors for him, while Adrian watched as if memorizing the cost of his own blindness. Evelyn stood very straight when Denise read the termination notice aloud. 18 years of authority folded into one cream-colored folder. Fraud. Wrongful confinement. Witness intimidation. Misuse of charitable funds. Falsified employment records. The words were clean. Too clean for what they had done, but Clara needed them clean. She needed the truth to survive paper. Paul from security handed over his badge with both hands. He tried to look at Clara, maybe to apologize, maybe to ask if she understood that he had only been following orders. She did not rescue him from the silence. Outside, the snow had stopped. The city looked scrubbed and cruel beneath the early light. Adrian's board arrived at 8. So did the outside attorney, an investigator from the Charity Commission, and a payroll auditor whose expression hardened with every file Denise placed before him. The winter relief account was frozen before breakfast. The missing wages were traced. Lily Ramos, June Walker, Patrice Bell, Rosa Mendez, names once reduced to resignation lines, were restored in the official household record. Not former staff. Witnesses. Employees wrongfully removed. Women owed back pay, medical support, legal protection, and apologies written on Volkov letterhead, signed by Adrian himself. Clara stood at the end of the dining table while it happened, wearing a clean sweater one of the kitchen girls had brought her, and the same name tag, still scratched from the pin. Adrian did not offer her an envelope of money. He knew better now. Instead, he placed 3 documents in front of her. A corrected employment file with her full name. A medical coverage form for her brother's asthma treatments, handled through a staff protection fund Marcus would never touch again. And a position description for a new office that had not existed the night before. Household Integrity Coordinator, with authority over staff complaints, payroll review, and outside reporting. Clara stared at the papers as if they might vanish if she breathed wrong. I don't know how to run an office, she said. Adrian looked at the old phone beside her hand. You kept one alive in an apron. The apology came after that, where everyone could hear it. Not soft. Not private. Adrian stood at the service entrance with the entire household gathered on both sides of the door. Clara May Ellison did not steal from this house, he said. She did not abandon her post. She told the truth when this house made truth dangerous. I failed to see what was done under my roof. His jaw tightened. That failure ends with me. Then he removed the brass plaque that read staff entrance. No ceremony. Just a screwdriver for small screws, and a silence so deep people could hear the metal hit the floor. In its place, he mounted a new plaque, staff office and entry, open from both sides. He handed Clara the brass key, the real one this time, polished, warm from his palm, her name engraved along the edge in small, careful letters. Clara May Ellison. For a moment, she was back in the snow, fingers bleeding around a key that could not save her. Then she turned it. The lock opened with a simple click. No alarm. No red light. No voice telling her she did not belong. Clara stepped inside first, then stopped and held the door open for the others. One by one, the kitchen girls, the dishwasher, the night cook, and the laundry staff walked through without lowering their eyes. That evening, after the lawyers left and the cameras were sealed and Lily's phone was placed in an evidence box with her Blue Moon sticker facing up, Clara sat in the quiet kitchen with a hot cup of coffee warming both hands. Her clean apron hung by the door, not hidden, not torn, not frozen. Adrian stood in the doorway for a long moment, saying nothing. Clara looked at the key resting beside her cup and finally whispered. She was right. People like us notice things. Adrian's eyes lowered, and for the first time, The silence in that house did not make her small, it made room for her voice.